is Mike Salem, who's an expert on all of these things that are going to be really important, things like bond yields, things like government debt, things like market reaction to elections.
So when it comes to bonds are effectively ways for the government to borrow money, because we are spending so much at the moment, crazy amount of money, and they need a source for all this. So they ask private people like us, like big organisations to fund it, and it comes through something called a bond.
And is a bond like a government IOU then?
If to some extent, I mean, it's more generally. Let's keep it simple and just think of it as as something that the government needs in terms of financial assistance, which we are going to get.
A loan,
indeed, sort of thing. Yes, which you will get some interest on.
Is it a fixed interest rate, or does it vary?
Well, that's where the yield comes in. So the yield is effectively the interest, so how much you get back. If the interest is low, it means that people usually trust the government, they trust the fiscal plans, they think there's political stability. But what we've seen from the news today, that the yield can go up, which means that the people don't trust the government, they don't trust at least the political stability. And from what we've seen is that, well, money talks, and money doesn't think Starmer's in a good position. They think Angela Rayner, they think Andy Burnham, they think West Streeting, they're going to try and go for the leadership. And they are worried because that causes political instability.
That'll actually make it worse than just Starmer staying put. Is that what the thought is?
It's tricky because, you know, if not Starmer, then who?
That's the thing, isn't it?
That's the difficulty, and we've had already too many U-turns.
Could it get worse though with the next lot?
Well, it may well be. Indeed, not just depends. What I very much enjoyed the Daily Mail headline today when Starmer was saying, "Well, if it's not me, who is it going to be? Angie or Burnham?" And
well, Miliband, he doesn't want to do it, does he?
But just to get it back to the real basics, because I just want to nail this. So, I'm sat here as a UK taxpayer, and the bond yield goes up. So what happens is somebody does something stupid and the yield goes up, therefore the government pays more interest on its loans. How does that affect me as a taxpayer?
Well, you're going to have your prices go up. I mean, you look at the grocery shoppings, for instance, that will go up. Why? Because the markets don't trust the economy anymore, so that means prices will go up.
Inflation,
it also means, indeed. So your shopping basket might go up
because interest rates are going up. Indeed. Therefore, everything goes up.
So I'll pay more tax. I'll pay more in interest rates, and I'll pay more for my groceries as well. So these bond yield things are really, really, really important. Now, I've got another question for you. Once again, really simple question. I heard down the pub, which is a great start to any political debate.
It's the best place. It's a great place to measure inflation, I can tell you.
Okay,
yes.
So I heard down the pub that all of that stuff that happened with the mini budget under Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss, and the yield went up or whatever, it's almost as bad now as it was then. So when everybody was grabbing their pearls in shock at what had happened under Kwasi Kwarteng, actually now that's the normal order of the day. Is that right or wrong?
The main concern was with Liz Truss's budget is that the concern was on how funding the tax cuts were going to come about, because there was lots of tax funding, which is always very welcome. I like less taxes on my tax bill, but where was the money going to come from? Because we didn't really cut spending. We wanted to keep the energy caps, for instance. So that was the real conundrum, and that shock at such a short time span.
That's what my mate said. I said, but it's just as bad as Liz Truss. He said, but it wasn't that. It was the speed of the Liz Truss one that caused. But Liz Truss maintains that she wasn't told that a few days before the Bank of England had sold these gilts, like 2/3 of they caused the problem, didn't tell her, and it was sort of almost an inside job, she suggests. What's your view on that?
I think there's a real communication problem there. I think both sides did not really talk to each other to explain what they're planning to do, and that screwed them over, both of them.
But she had to be told everything, and she wasn't. I mean, she was the Prime Minister.
Well, indeed, and I think that's a crucial part of the...
So was it a stitch-up, like she says, do you think?
Well, it's a tricky question. I think lots of things happen in government. I mean, look at Starmer, for example. He said he wasn't told about Mandelson and all that.
But he's just lying.
Well, indeed. I couldn't possibly comment. But the reality is the size of government is so big that politicians nowadays are not even aware what's happening under their leadership. And reality is we need to cut it, we need to reduce it, and for us to be better off as citizens, we need to cut spending, we need to show that we are fiscally responsible. We're going to take care of our books, balance the books, take care of our spending, not spend more than we actually take in.
But we're not fiscally responsible, are we? I mean, I
look at our welfare bill.
When I say we, I mean, and let me give you the most basic example. We cannot house our own people, and yet we've opened the floodgates to the Islamic world. It's just crazy.
And you know, economically, this is very important because we talk about because we have to come together as a whole now. This is not a political party affair anymore. You know, people's lives are at stake. We don't want people to lose their homes. We don't want people to be on the streets. We don't want people not to be able to eat. So the Labour government really needs to think up seriously how they're going to tackle this potential market shock.